Welcome to Classy Broadcast with Classy Broad members Jay Crook, Sycamore Treasy, and Callie Fox. Join us today for episode 7 with guest Jorge the Saiyan Torres, discussing the subjects of mixed martial arts, the elements of hip-hop, and the experience of loss, motivation, and growth. We hope you enjoy episode 7 of Classy Broadcast. As always, thank you for listening and for giving us a space to voice our thoughts.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Classy Broadcast. I am Nicholas Fletcher.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLaughlin.
Jorge Torres.
Callie Fox.
This is Ep 7, and today's guest, we have Mr. Torres, my dear friend, and somebody who I think is not only just a great dude in our community, but a dear friend to all of us. So I think this will be a fun episode because we talk a lot about music and mental health, which we still can obviously juggle that and fold that in here. But at the same time, George has a specific set of skills that I happen to be obsessed with that I think we can dive into here. So we'll start off by, George, just kind of go ahead and introduce yourself, just you as a person, but obviously we're here to talk a lot about your fighting skills, your MMA background and all that.
I'll be 28 very last day of this month. I've been living in Rock Springs for about 15 plus years maybe. Practically grew up here and actually met these guys when Navarro was doing the concerts and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, and you were doing with the breakdancing and
the
stuff?
B-boy stuff, yeah. That's when I met you guys. I wouldn't consider myself an OG like you guys, because you guys have been doing this forever. So.
No, you were certainly an OG.
Definitely you guys had a lot of influence on my come up. And now I'm doing MMA. I won my last 2 fights.
Exciting fights.
Might have another one December 13th, hopefully in Utah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, on a Friday the 13th. Yeah. Shoo, that'd be cool.
How did you just know that?
Because I wanted to get my nose pierced. And they have specials.
Yeah. She knows all the Friday 13th, bro.
Dude, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and married to my beautiful wife, Amy, for 3 years. Been together almost 8, 9.
Shouts out to Amy.
Yeah.
Also a wonderful woman.
Yeah, that's me. Pretty much summed up.
I'll ask the first question then. Before we dive into the MMA side of things, because that's a place that you and I have a lot of commonalities and interests and stuff, and we can dive into that later. The first time we met and made a connection, so we're all hip-hop artists, and all of us, I mean that we're all hip-hop artists, because hip-hop transcends well beyond the rapping side of things.
Oh,
hip-hop
absolutely.
is a lifestyle, it's a culture.
Breaking.
So
I
exactly, graffiti,
wanna talk about too,
exactly. So George, we met through breakdancing. George would come and he'd breakdance for intermissions and have during sets and things like that. My question is, are you still doing that? And
I was going to ask that too.
got you into doing that? What started you into?
When I first found out about breaking, it was through the internet. And I didn't know what it was. I just saw people spinning on their backs in their head. And I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. I'll try it out. I put that into school. People loved it. So I was like, oh, cool. Well, I mean, I'm not shy to perform in front of people. I mean, I hear there's shows going on. Maybe I can get a piece of that too. So then that's when I met you guys. And I was like, hey, I'll dance for you guys. I'll be in your videos, give you that little extra, oomph that you're missing in your videos, That's pretty much where it kicked off. And the more I got involved into breaking, the more I found out about hip-hop, rap, and all those elements. That's when I found the scene behind breaking, too. Because at first I was like, okay, well, it's just a dance. But it's really like a sport now. It's in the Olympics, if you guys have seen.
Oh, yeah.
We all know Ray Gun.
Yeah. The best one ever.
I have some friends in Vegas who were commenting on that, and they were like, man, these are the motherfuckers that made it to the Olympics.
Poor Ray Gun.
I didn't get to see it at all, but
I couldn't do any of what
they were like, yo, my friends are better than that, but who knows?
But I'm still doing it. It's something I probably won't ever give up on. Something that's become part of my personality, me. It's something that I also implement into my MMA.
I was going to ask that.
God damn it.
But that's how I got started.
A lot of foreshadowing.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, so how much do you think that that helped you learn how to control your body a lot? Because I noticed you move like a motherfucker when you're fighting. I watched that first Wild Fights, and their fight was the most exciting fight of the whole bill.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it goes into coordination, knowing where my hands are and my feet are. If I'm on the ground, well, b-boying's all on the ground. I know where each one of my fingers are. In a way, MMA is a dance. It's like a salsa almost.
That's a good
but
point.
You're trying to outdance the person in front of you.
So with that being said, at what point were you dancing and thought, man, I'd like to punch people during that?
Well,
Wait, my other question.
yeah, the first
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck,
good
all right.
job. I'm proud of you. I
I'm just
love
gonna
you.
shut up.
yeah. Well, one day my dad put on ESPN and I seen the UFC back when they had that heavy metal intro. But first fighter I seen was Diego Sanchez. And I was like, man, that looks so cool, punching people in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something I'd be good at. I tried boxing out, and then Dave had the jiu-jitsu gym in his
Wild Faction. Shout out to Dave and Wild Faction.
Yeah,
that is the
dude,
gym.
he's such a
Yeah.
fantastic
That is the
human.
gym that George and I both train out of.
Yeah.
So,
And I actually went to a few of his classes when he was doing it in his basement.
and that's where I started. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Nice. That's so cool.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Was before he started Wild Faction?
Yeah, oh, yeah. So this is
Aw,
yeah. So
love that.
yeah, it'd be cool to get Dave on here. But just,
No, I've been
yeah.
talking about that. Yeah.
So, but Dave,
'Cause he's also
wonderful human
much
being.
cool
That
shit
dude
to
is like
say.
my guru. That I respect that man so much. His story is so cool and eclectic, and I don't want to try to tell it because it's not mine to tell. But from my perspective, what was cool is when I started getting interested in like boxing and MMA and all that. I boxed here for a while. And then I heard about jiu-jitsu, which was totally foreign to me. And then just through a circle of friends I hung out with, I got invited to go train jiu-jitsu. And I showed up, and it was some dude's house. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
this is a little weird.
And
And I
then the
walked inside,
basement,
and
too,
then
like, you're gonna
and
murder
then you
us.
walk in the basement, and it's like legit, like big wrestling mats down there, punching bags hung up, like it was legit. I'm like, oh shit. And then once you start training with them, this is back when he's a black belt now, which if anybody doesn't know, with jiu-jitsu, that's like Harvard professor level education of your craft. Like you are extremely
We
versed.
have passed that too, right?
Oh yeah, well there's degrees of the
Yeah.
belts,
Oh, okay.
So there's but so Dave is a black belt, and at the time he was only a blue belt, which is where I'm at right now. I'm a blue belt.
Oh, nice.
And so Dave,
yeah.
Dave at the time was only a blue belt, so even to see that journey, but training.
So you guys watched it from like the birth and conceptualization into full blown.
Yeah.
to where we're going to class now, and I'm literally being like, "Yo, dog, we got to get it. We got to get a bigger venue." Like,
Well, he
Yeah.
basically like built a lot of the MMA community. Like,
Yeah,
right?
I
I mean,
mean,
there's
really.
obviously there's other gyms, but
And there was fights back when I was in like high school and stuff, but it was nothing like what the production that Dave has. going on.
because prior, I believe it was a lot of like the rough man stuff. It was like,
Unsanctioned.
Yeah.
the unsanctioned fights,
Yeah,
is
bare
unsanctioned
knuckle
amateur fights.
fucking rough man
Yeah,
fights.
so much
dude.
so
It
you
was
could
crazy.
go back in the day. I don't know.
fair.
I don't know. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
damn.
I'm sure there's other small communities, but probably just any community could relate to this. But we'd have the event where it'd be the rough man unsanctioned fights, and it was so lawless that you could literally be in the crowd that night and be like, "I'll fight," and they'd like sign a waiver, and you could just get in the ring and just two
Fucking
people
fight.
could just agree to scrap. Just
that's
like, yeah.
wild.
Yeah,
I
a
will
lot
say-
of beefs were settled.
Yeah, that's almost like
I bet. I will say quick on Dave. That's where Treasy got his like main character, like customizing his main character shit from.
So Dave with me, just the jiu-jitsu side of stuff. Well, and this goes with a lot of art forms, but it's really closely related to physical combat, like MMA / jiu-jitsu, to be able to fold it into mental health. But once I started getting a really close connection to Dave, and as my peer, friend, and professor, he offered the opportunity for me to do a men's group type class, to just go and kind of have a healthy space to train our jiu-jitsu, but then flesh out like some philosophy type ideals and just all sorts of things. And I took so much value from that to this day, that's a lot where we were talking about like the main character stuff of being like, yo man, like we've talked about it in the previous pod, but like we are the main character of our story, so like we should act as such.
Can I ask though, George, how has MMA affected your mental health on the mental health tip, since we're talking about that?
That's a good question. So I take it not because it's like a sport, makes me sweat, makes me better at martial arts. I take it as like a therapy now. Back when I started, I was like, oh, I can kick people's asses. Like my confidence just grew, But now with like recent events and stuff, it's like therapeutic. I go in there, door closes, and just it's so quiet in my head. I'm like, okay, put on the
that's
gloves,
nice.
and it's like dancing,
So fucking relatable.
That makes
Yeah.
me want to do it.
Yeah.
I guess.
You probably fucking do good by
Well,
taking
because
a
like I
couple
don't know
classes,
if you remember,
but-
I don't know how many people watching know, it's not uncommon knowledge, but I was a stripper for 8 years, a dancer, whatever you want to call it. I'm not offended by the term stripper.
They're strippers.
But like
Dirty whore.
pole dancing was like huge for me, and like you said, like my brain would get so quiet, and that was like probably the only time that's ever happened for me. So I love that you said like it's like a dance. Like that's
What
My brain's just.
Yeah, and that I'm fucking envious, bro.
Dude,
I was
bro,
about to
yeah.
ask you, as my Jesse, coming from somebody who all of us relatable in that regard. What is your thing that makes your brain quiet? And you're just like,
Just being alive.
being alive. Fucking
yeah,
bitch.
that's
Good,
I-
yeah.
All my thoughts are intentional, pretty much. Well, no, I have intrusive thoughts and stuff like that, but like, you know,
He is vivid.
it's very vivid. Like I used to, every time I crossed a railroad track, I would see a fucking train just boom hitting my car and eyeballs and fucking
brain matter just
fire.
exploding out.
Yeah, bro. His brain takes it places.
Yeah, so
I think that's why I'm so calm.
like really relatable, George. And I've talked a lot about this to my other friend groups and all that. When I started training and doing jujitsu, because I boxed before, and even there, for whatever reason, I just didn't have the same.
You guys both boxed before?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I enjoyed boxing, but it just didn't have the same effect at the time. I think a lot of that was also headspace where I was at. When I started getting really dedicated to jiu-jitsu, which has been years now, like I've been like dedicated, like I'm hitting multiple classes a week and training with like a lot of intent. I would go to the fundamental classes and like learn the beginner stuff, the basics, and just the things that are to this day very important to know. And it was all fine and dandy, but you guys, you know me, especially Kelly, in the sense of like my mind a million miles a minute, just intrusive thoughts all the time, trying to like pinpoint just all this stuff. I started doing what's called open mat, which we do all the time. And it's just open. It's just you show up and you roll, you spar, you train, whatever it is, and everybody there cares about the other person you're training with. So nobody's ever intentionally trying to harm you, but you are fighting. You're in a physical altercation. And the second I would hit open mat, my brain would get quiet, and the only thing I was thinking about was attack or defend. Period. It was like go forward or go backward, attack, and so
That's
then
why a motherfucker wouldn't stop even when he got hurt.
so then I would be in class, and after having a really bad stressful day, I'd finish open mat, and I'd realize, holy shit, for the past like 2 hours, I haven't stressed about anything. I've literally I've only focused on attack, defend, and so
taking it all the way down to like a primal state of mind, you know, before all the bullshit, before anxiety told us that we weren't good enough. Like, it was like,
that's a good point.
Just like before 4 times, you know, because like, dude, like you think about it, like our brains, they work in a modern way now, even though it's old technology, it works more in a modern way, but it's got to be nice to take it back to that primitive in the sense of like, dumb,
simpler times, but not like the 50s.
When we didn't have to worry about fucking what people think or
what bills you gotta pay,
or you know, you're worried about only
attack, defend, eat.
Those things.
What all the mean kids on TikTok said about your song.
The kids, notice the
So,
kids.
how long have you been doing MMA?
I started boxing when I was 15.
Oh wow.
28 now. And jiu-jitsu for on and off a couple of years after that. It wasn't until about like 2019 when I went full on Wild Faction with Dustin.
Another person
today,
shout out.
Were you fighting like straight through all that time, or did you just kind of like
training, just pure training?
Wow,
I didn't even have my first fight
13
till Wild
years
Fight,
though.
the first one.
Oh, really? So you got to see your first one?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That's a long time to master your craft before. It's almost like we talk about those people who like they'll sit and master their craft and like they come out with an album and you're like, bro, no way that's your first fucking album. And I feel like they kind of do what you did, like just work on it, and they're like, all right, time to debut it, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Where'd you come from?
I feel like if I had the opportunity when I was 15, like there was already events going on at the time, I probably would have taken it. But I mean, we live in Rock Springs and.
Yeah, I will say nothing has been like is legitimized locally before Wild Fights.
Wild Fight, yeah.
Like there just hasn't. You know,
it was like Rock's Boxing back in the day.
The Wild Fights are sanctioned amateur fights.
Sanctioned,
they're sanctioned, so they go on your record, like and whatnot. They're like,
wow, that's cool.
Blood work and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you have to. It's legit.
Yeah, because we had cage fights and shit back in the day, but I don't think they were like.
Yeah, no, you have to. At wild fights, you have to have like a legit referee who takes you
I
and
feel
your
like
corner aside
ever
and
since I
explains.
moved here, Rocks Boxing was just kind of the empty corner of a building, right?
Yeah, and shout out to Rocks Boxing because that has been a great place. Because I'm great friends with Lawrence and his family.
Yeah.
And Rocks Boxing has been a place for so long that has been a really good outlet for just our community, but especially the youth to go and have
kids,
an outlet there. You know, just I think that with anything, it's kind of similar. To music. You know, like. Music wouldn't be so cool if it was only rock and roll,
right,
or if it was only hip hop. So it's cool that boxing has its space here, jiu-jitsu has its space here, and MMA has its space here.
Kempo and
Kempo karate.
Like,
the karate.
The Panettas and stuff, like their dojos are like it. Like those dudes have been doing that shit forever.
That's where I really started as Kempo.
Oh, really?
Actually, come to think of, since you guys are talking about that, what do you think that like having that outlet as a community, what kind of effect do you think that has on the community, especially as like Springs, where it's kind of like people are either like fighting each other in the streets or they're drinking, kind of like there's not really much to do. How do you think that affects like the community as a whole?
I definitely think that it's a positive move, especially with boys. Like boys and men, it's in our genetic makeup to be violent sometimes. Like
that's you're full of testosterone.
That's just what it is. It's like
testosterone is
and
very
so
good.
if you're not getting that capability out in a healthy way, it manifests in street fights and unsanctioned stuff and anger issues. And so I feel like anything that these kids can do to help them relieve that, I don't know, that pressure is a step in the right direction, because we don't want them out there at Bunnings Park beating the shit out of each
the
other.
fucking bonfires. You throw a bonfire.
Right.
You're out in the middle of fucking nowhere,
Right.
scrapping in the desert.
Right. Yep. And I remember like times like where they'd be like fighting out at the bonfires, and a girl would jump in the middle of it and get her head completely twisted around. And people would be like, "Oh my God, this girl just got punched in the face by a dude," you know, and then it would cause a whole bunch of other stuff, you know. And like, not to say that
Not
these
to say
things
she didn't have it coming. She didn't.
But you know, not to say that those things aren't going to keep like on happening, you know what I'm saying? But if there is an opportunity for healthy release, I think that is way more beneficial. You need to teach the kids young to be like in control of themselves and their emotions, you know, or else you're just.
And that's a big thing in
pause.
MMA, right?
I'm gonna piggyback off that. First off, I'm gonna agree 100%. Like you are right on track, and exactly what you said. The word you said, control. What me personally that I feel it has taught me and got me proficient at is control, and that's on a physicality level, but on a mental level.
Yeah.
So when I go and train, really learning. I mean, because I didn't get really invested in training until after my 30s. And when I started really investing, because even when I boxed and did all that stuff, it was all, I didn't take it super serious. Like I'd go box every now and again. I could go weeks at a time without hitting a class and whatever. But once I started dedicating to jiu-jitsu, it was, even now, I usually try to get at least 3 classes a week, if not more. And usually when I'm at class, I'm there for like 2 hours or more. When I started training and really investing myself, and not just saying when somebody showed me a technique, like let's say like an arm bar, for anybody who knows what an arm bar is, just being like, okay, arm bar, the concept of it is you get the arm, get the control, boom, like, okay, you're working on your arm bar. Instead, breaking it down and being like, okay, well, what is the arm bar functionality? Like, okay, like I understand what it is and how to do it, but if I remove all that, like it boils down to like your bendy bits, like your elbow, I'm gonna make it go the direction it doesn't want to go.
Everything to palm up.
Yeah,
everything
exactly. From everything, like so, like the way your arm, like if I armbar you, I want your palm up. I want to prevent you from escaping. I want your arm to be in the best position, that your ligaments are tight as it is. That a small contortion is going to hurt you. That being said, that's a dangerous thing to be able to do to somebody. Yeah. So I want to know how to do that, but then if I go do it on my boy George, I want to know I'm not going to hurt him. So it learns that crazy dance balance of I'm doing something that would be considered ultra violent and I'm doing it finessed and I'm doing it tact. And so then you start learning how well you can operate your functionality and your mobility of your body, how you can place yourself, how you can like elevate your hips and get on your shoulders and invert your body and roll and all these little things. And then once I started being like, oh fuck man, I'm capable of some really cool stuff, I started applying that to my mentality as well. If I can control myself in a healthy sparring match with my friend, if I go to the bar and some guy's like, you're a fucking pussy, I can be like, all right, dog, cool. Like, you're right, I'm a pussy. Instead of being like, I know how to fight, I can control that reaction, my response to it. And so yeah, control is the biggest thing I'd say.
So quick, just I want to say, in the past, we meant for the buttons to be like, hey, shut up. So now I'm going to say, let's edit that and say it, and it's just letting everyone know I have something to say.
Okay,
so that we'll get back around to you. You know what I mean? So
I didn't know
you can turn it on or you can never mind, okay? So if you have something to say, just hit that button and then everybody,
like, well, you said something that resonated with me. Yeah.
They can finish what they're saying, but everyone knows you want to talk.
Okay.
But also, like, I wanted to say, obviously, like, when you're fighting in a tournament, you can't know how the other person's going to react. But when you're in a fight camp, where does that trust with your companions play in? Where A, you're not going to hurt me, like, hurt me. B, I can trust you to submit and not let me hurt you.
It's like family. Like, you're bonding with them. You spend hours together. And especially in fight camp, if your teammates are fighting, you're spending the whole fight camp together as well. You're bleeding, you're sweating, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're draining yourself every day, you know, with your partner. For example, Garrett had I don't want to say a terrible weight cut, but he did have to spend like 2 hours in the hot tub to cut weight. And I was already on spot. Like, I was 125, I was ready to go, but I didn't want him to suffer alone. So I got in there with him.
You're so sweet.
Yeah,
That's
a bunch
awesome.
of us. Shout out
that.
James Black and John and Patience.
Steven.
We all got in there with him and suffered those 2 hours with him, even though we didn't have to. You know, just because it's all that bonding.
Hours?
Going back to what you said about like us knowing not to hurt each other and stuff, it's like it's an unwritten rule. Whatever you give me, I'll give back. You know, if you're giving me 25, I'll give you 25. You hit me with like an accidental 40. I'll be all right. I'm just gonna hit you with a 30 maybe, but then it's just building. At the end, you're like, oh man, you got me so good, and you're really improving and stuff, you know. But let's take it light a little bit, you know. And it's just communication at the end of the day. It's just like, for example, Treasy is much bigger than me. His 20 might feel like a 70 to me, so I can just give him a nod like, oh that was good, you know, and he'll understand like, oh maybe I should.
And George brings up a good point. Just to like dip into that and let you get back to it, is for me being as big as I'm a 6'5", 220-pound dude. One of my levels of control is that I have so much. I have literal physics on my side. I have physics on my side. So like he's saying, I had to really learn how to control him, especially early on when I'd spar with like the really elite dudes like Dustin. And Dustin like, hey, you need to like not hit so hard. And I'm like, dog, I'm not trying to be this guy, but I'm not. Like, I'm barely touching anybody. I'm literally barely. But it's like, yo, you're 6'5" with fucking meat hooks. Yeah. Like, so you said my 25 might to be somebody else's like fucking 75, and so.
Well, I mean, you think like, if you have a rock and a sling from here, you hit somebody with it, right? If you hit him from here, like, yeah, it's gonna hurt and shit. But if you cock back and fucking swing that fucking thing, which is just you moving.
Yeah, he's got fucking 6 foot long arms.
It's almost like you can reverse engineer it in the context of, if you got me in front of one of those like pads that you punch and it does the pressure, like for your punch, how strong your punch is, and you're like, I want you to hit it as hard as you can. I could functionally very easily do that, but it takes skill. Because if I didn't know how to fight and I just threw my punch, whatever number I'd get just because physicality and athleticism. But a trained fighter puts his hips into it, his like torques into it, and gets a solid punch. You're like, holy fuck, that's a hard hit. So it takes like education training. Yeah. Same thing applies to if you're like, okay, now I want you to punch this fucking bubble. Don't pop it. I want you to just tap it. Just tap that bubble, don't pop it. It's just as difficult. Right. To be like, oh shit, now I gotta learn how to like whip my limbs out there and be fast and accurate, but I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. I want to be accurate. Yeah, so.
Ever seen Lil Uzi hit the punching bag thing?
Did he hit it hard?
Broke the fucking machine.
God damn.
I don't
bro.
understand.
Uzi?
He's a small
Isn't
dude.
he? I was gonna say, isn't he a little guy?
Yeah, he's a small
well,
dude.
but I mean, look at George.
He does this thing
he's
where
small, but he fucks
he
shit
like
up.
cocks his foot back and just like wham throws his whole body into it, and it's just like
Yeah.
like I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, look it up.
With those punching machines, like I don't even know what the science is behind it.
It's you hit the bag and how hard the bag hits the
Hits the
pressure
back thing. Yes. One year, I remember I was doing it. They had it at like one of our local events, and I'm one of those guys where just walking by one, people be like, hit it. You should hit that thing just because they see how big I am. And it's funny because there's times that I've seen people who will beat my score by like 100 points and they'll be like, oh, hell yeah, and they'll be smaller than me. But these are dudes who, I'm not trying to discredit them, who they'll put the bag down and they'll rear back and they'll literally like a running start and jump in like full body and like hit it. And they'll be like, oh, I hit it hard. Yeah. I will literally stand right in front of it, move nothing but the functional, but the hips and the shoulders to pop. Yeah. And I will literally get like 50 points under their score. Damn. And again, because it's like, I'm not trying, like in a real fighting scenario, I'm not going to run at you from across the room and like jeopardize like,
a fucking flying elbow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wouldn't they like see that coming? That's almost like
telegraphy.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive.
So I feel like this is a good question for George, actually. What would you say are like the main factors that like led you to be the person that you are today and like make the choices that you make today?
Big factors would probably be like coming from poverty. I think that's a big reason why I'm so humble is just, I know what it's like to have nothing. Like when me and my parents first came here to Rock Springs, we left everything in Chicago and we just trusted life. Like we just took the chance, came here because we heard there was a job, there was work, you know. And at first it was rough. We lived in like a little camper and our bathroom and our shower was this factory next door. Yeah, it was just me, my two brothers, and my parents, and we just lived in the camper, and we just trusted. Yeah, we just trusted the process, and little by little, got a trailer, and my dad got a car, and then it was just.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know what it's like. So whenever I see someone struggling, I don't judge them. I'm in there, you know.
Yeah.
I know what it's like.
So you guys came from Chicago, huh?
Yeah.
Damn, that's like a big
jump.
Big jump, especially. It's like a whole different world out there.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
How old were you? Do you know?
Oh well, maybe 7, 8.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm happy you guys were able to figure it out. It's crazy out there. You know what I'm saying? Especially doing something that big and coming from a place that different. You know what I'm saying? And it's violent out there.
Yeah.
I think places like that could benefit from some funded games and shit like that. You know, give the kids a place to go to get those feelings.
That's kind of where I was going at with my question earlier, was like curious to see what happened crime rate wise, you know what I mean, when that like became an outlet for people.
Well, I personally myself have noticed that ever since there has been more stuff in that light for the youth to do, like they're not like the drug problem here is still focused more in adults.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, the kids
you
are
don't
out
hear
here
as much about the kids doing meth and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids are out there here smoking weed, but they're gonna fucking do that. But like, you don't hear about them. They weren't doing the shit that I was doing.
Yeah,
like, spinning off, being a lunatic at 15 years old.
Not even weed as much anymore. They just vape.
Yeah.
Nicotine. I know. Yeah, I talk to my son a lot about his friends and stuff, and like that's kind of their main thing is vapes, and actually alcohol is unfortunately a pretty big problem in the youth right now too. But
Galaxy gas coming up.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
What do you think coming from that background and coming to where you are today has done for your mindset of building and like, ability to change your situation?
I will say, coming from that, I did face a lot of like bullying because of like, where I was staying and all that. I was had to pick me up at a horse corral and stuff, and bullying had played a big part as like my violence. It took me to a place I didn't want to be at, where all I wanted to do was just prove myself.
Yeah.
I was a little guy. I wanted respect, so I just started fights with everybody. Didn't matter who it was. I'd be like, "Hey, let's go to the bathroom." They think, you know, you can take me on. After that, I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy, you know. It just starts fights in school. Criminal. I don't want to end up like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I hear this is boxing gym. Instead of worrying about proving myself to others,
talk about control.
I'll just prove myself to me.
Yeah.
Of what I'm capable of. And that's enough.
I love that.
My apologies.
Very good.
Work stuff.
Like yourself.
Burn in hell.
You're
whore.
fired.
You say work yourself?
Work yourself.
Fuck yourself.
Work yourself.
Oh.
Work yourself, motherfucker.
You just go out there and just like start shoveling.
So you did talk about a love for hip hop coming from being a b-boy. Who's your favorite artist right now?
Oh, right now I'd probably say Eminem.
Hell
Alright.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But growing up, I got introduced to Cypress Hill as a big influence on me.
Nice.
Yeah, Cypress Hill, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, NWA. I grew up on a lot of old school, obviously because of b-boying. Like Mos Def and
Hell yeah.
Nas, Big
Most
Daddy
Def
Kane.
does not get enough respect, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's respected in like the right circles.
Yes.
But Most Def is.
Not more in the mainstream.
all them.
Yeah, Big Daddy Kane too, bro. Fuck. I remember
you showed me Big Daddy Kane, and I was like, when did this come out?
Yeah.
You're like,
It was
in the 90s.
Bro,
I was like,
no, it
shut
wasn't,
up.
bro. No, the one I showed you, I
Yeah.
remember this vividly because I got the CD. The reason it blew my mind, it came out in '87.
Oh.
So a year before I was born, and the reason I was tripping on that is because I was like, "How is this so dope?" And it came out even before I existed.
Brother, that's
Like, I
why I'm
wasn't
so
even a
on
twinkle
about
in-
MC Light, bro. She started in like 87 and she's still fucking kicking, dude. And killing it.
I was shook when I found a Big Daddy Kane record that was from '87, and he was just fucking spazzing
Eating
on it.
it
Yeah,
up,
dude,
dude.
spazzing.
Whoa.
Yeah, I love anything with like a breakbeat to it. Oh, just gets me in the mood to just dance.
Boom bap is just such a good thing to fucking
like
have.
Method Man and
Oh,
his
bro.
beats. Oh,
Don't
my
get
guy.
Tracy
So
started on
good,
Method
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Have I ever
He'll
told
never
you
shut
guys
up.
how I started getting...
I swear to
he has a
fucking
song
God,
with
bro.
Method Man.
She's like, button.
That would be third time he's told us the Method Man story.
And that's when I
Good
found
story,
out
but-
like how hip hop is not just rap, but it's like the four elements. That's,
Yeah.
that's through
That's
all
such
those
a good way to
artists
put it.
and like that era. Like I found out that not just rap, it's b-boying, graffiti, DJing, and all that come together to make hip hop.
Yeah, emceeing, producing,
Yeah.
beat makers, yeah.
And it's kind of like a bummer that we really like forgot about the other elements and just kind of just brought up rap. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That
I
is
think,
true.
I think we're now in a climate where a little bit more producers are getting a little bit, like beat makers are
Yeah.
getting a little bit more,
Yeah.
like, notoriety. But back in the day, you have like a fucking producer like Prodigy and like things like that. Like,
Kanye West didn't get enough love in the producing.
Yeah, back in the day,
like,
yeah.
And
And,
he's
like-
one of the biggest artists of our time.
we have these songs that we're like, man, that's such a classic song, and you almost forget that, like, so much of that classic comes from like the beat. I implore anybody who likes that shit, like for instance, like Shook Ones is it's an iconic hip hop instrument. Shook Ones is one of the most iconic hip hop instrumentals. Go watch a video on all the things that were sampled to make that beat and how it was made, and it will blow your mind, the artistry behind it. Insane.
Yeah, because they could only work with like 7 or 8 sounds at once at a time.
And not only that, but
the
but
eight
to make it clear, like copyrights, you could only use a certain snippet, like a certain
Right.
length.
Under
of,
30 seconds.
Yeah,
or
it was like a
something
certain. It's less than that. Yeah, you can.
Now it's.
Made it more now because there's only so much new shit, you know.
But in terms of production, like 30 seconds is an eternity.
Yeah.
I will say though, I think that a big factor, and I don't know, I could be talking out my ass, but I feel like a big factor in like rap becoming so big and like all the other elements kind of being forgotten is because those elements came from that struggle, that poverty, and now like rap is so available to people who don't have that, especially because like it's really easy to make music these days, but you do need equipment, and equipment costs money. That's where I love artists like Sam LaChow and shit, because like I don't promote crime, you know, but like bro, like the dude was like out robbing people and selling drugs to get his fucking MacBooks and shit so he could make his music, you know, like that's hip hop as fuck. And I think that's where a lot of that got
Rob
like
stores,
forgotten, because like even Greaves, dude, like
I just saw
he does
feet pic.
graffiti and shit. But he came from Chicago, like you. He came from Chicago, and his dad got a job in Fort Collins, and he was like, "Yo, dude, like, what is this fucking little town bullshit?" You know what I mean? I think that's kind of a lot where that came from, because like you're just not gonna see people who aren't struggling doing graffiti and needing to get their aggressions out and dance. You
That
know?
being said, where you're so fucking right is unfortunately and fortunately, this is a very like it's a two-sided coin here. Is the accessibility to be a rapper is so much easier now. And also with rap, one of the cool things about all the genres is you could have the funkiest, goofiest voice and find how to make it work as a rapper. Like think about how all the unique people who like wouldn't make it necessary as like a singer or like a vocalist in any other genre, but rap, they can just the way they can make it work.
You don't even need a beat to rap either.
Yeah, and exactly. So with rap, it's for the people who, now we have this huge sect of people who, I don't try to hate on them, but there's also a little bit of like frustration with it, who they rap purely for like popularity and notoriety. It's not for a love of the sport. It's not for to like achieve anything outside of like, rapping's cool, gets money and bitches. That's all I care about. That being said, it's really easy to go and have a microphone and get software and just press record and auto tune your way into a song. But to be a break dancer, you have to fucking work at it.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just start breakdancing. Yeah. To be a graffiti artist, you can't just start graffitiing.
You gotta hurt yourself. You gotta build the muscles. You gotta fucking scrape yourself on the ground and shit.
So there's like education behind it, and I'm not trying to hate on any but out of all of the 4 elements, the rapping part is probably the easiest and most accessible. Yeah, in the context of what gets like is accepted. If I started breaking dancing right now in front of everybody, in front of the camera. You certainly.
Dude, we'd all be dead.
Y'all would be.
It just like destroys the room like a fucking tornado.
And the crazy part is like, hip hop started here in the U.S., right? And it's crazy to me that other foreign places have taken one of the elements, such as like breaking, and making it what it should be in the U.S. Like for example, in Europe, they have these tournaments that are sponsored by Red Bull called the Red Bull BC1, where the best b-boys from around the world come. And they compete for a championship, of like a legit leather gold championship with judges, millions of fans. And I feel like that's what it should have been here in the U.S., but sadly you just don't see that.
Yeah, and you don't. You're right.
Well, you can't glorify drugs and bitches while you're breakdancing. I'll tell you that.
But fortunately, it is cool that it has spread to other parts of the world where it's like highly regarded and respected.
Right.
Well, fuck, Japan's more hip hop than we are. We fucking created this shit.
That's crazy because the Asians right now have been dominating b-boying for ages.
Oh, bro, and his MCs too, bro. Like there's English-speaking Japanese MCs who are killing it, and then Japanese-speaking hip-hop that you're just like, I don't know what you're saying, dog, but you are fucking going off right now.
And going back to like the 4 elements, I miss how they all complement each other. Like the DJ will bring the beat, right? And you don't want to hear beat all night. So then the rapper will come up, spit some truth, some words, something you can relate to. And the only way you knew that your beats and your raps were legit and people loved it was when the b-boys started dancing to it.
Exactly.
That's when you're like, oh, they love my beat, they're dancing to it. And then the graffiti guy would be the one to like set the scene, make it look nice, make it look this. And that's what I miss, man.
Oh, well, I don't think I could have put it better myself.
That makes me think of like, did you ever see The Get Down?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
so good.
Such a good show, man.
Didn't you just share a post about it recently? Yeah.
How they got canceled.
Yeah, it got canceled. Yeah,
that's some old bullshit.
That is some bullshit. That was fucking great.
Every hip hop head in America was like, fuck
What
you,
the
Netflix.
fuck?
Dude, because that shit was
they set it up
good.
for another season so well too. Like it was
and
like
it really captured like how drugs was the reason why like so much of it just went downhill. Like what was it?
Always how
cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine.
80s.
Yeah, yep, cocaine.
Well, I think it like one of the more interesting parts about like what they brought up about it was that like there was so many people who were so upset that they wanted to record and sell the records because they were like, it's not meant to be monetized. It's supposed to be for the culture, for the people, like so that we can like overcome all the things the adversities that we've been through, like. And so it's kind of interesting to see the way that it's like, I guess in those terms, been like bastardized. Yeah. What is your mantra?
Each one, teach one. Basically, that's a good b-boy saying, and I feel like that just applies to everything. If you know something, like instead of judging someone or putting them down or making them feel like they're stupid, teach them. Show them. Each one, teach one, and I feel like that's
beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. There's too much gatekeeping in the world, and then shaming.
All right,
like
Kelly,
you said.
what's your mantra?
Mine is nothing lasts forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because when things are hard, nothing lasts forever. Yeah. When things are easy, appreciate it. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. You feel like time is limitless until the alarm goes on.
All right, Crookie, mantra.
Bitches and get money.
Hell yeah.
I'm just like, come back to me. I live my life by a lot of these.
Yeah. My favorite of all time is I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in war. And I just think that says so much in so little. Like I'd much rather be prepared and have the skill set and ability to protect myself and take care of me and mine than to be completely out of my element and helpless in a situation that I need to be alert and prepared in. So
now it's my turn again.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's back to you.
Just stick with fuck bitches, get money.
Yeah. 10 toes in.
Yeah, fuck bitches, get money.
Yeah, dude, I don't really know about mine. I don't know. I'll come back. I'll just say it.
I was gonna say, if you think of it, just say it. What is your greatest accomplishment to date?
I'd say probably wild fight too.
Nice.
I feel like I do have a goal though, is to be the flyweight champion. I don't care what state, but I just want to be known as the flyweight champion. I feel like that'd be my.
Is that your moonshot goal?
Yeah, that's my ultimate goal.
That was my next question. Hell yeah.
That's my ultimate goal. And
moonshot.
All thanks to Dustin. Like, shout out Dustin.
Dustin. He gets mentioned a lot in the pods because he deserves it, man.
Well,
he'll be on next episode.
I have very deep ties with him, bro. You know, like.
On
I
so many levels.
With him back in the day.
Well, that's what's crazy. He's watching RBK back in the day, and my relationship as a rapper, and we had our song "The Four Horsemen" and all that stuff. And then flash forward to now, where like I get to train with him on a whole nother level, like on a way different. Like, and what's crazy is now through the fight game, he and I are way closer than we were back then.
I actually met him like when he was going through his period, in his addiction. I met him way back then, and it wasn't until I went to Wild Faction when we reunited, and I met like a completely different person. Like this guy has built me from someone who can barely fight to what I am now, like a future champion, I'd say. But
absolutely,
no, yeah, I don't think that's egotistical to say.
Dustin's so crazy and unique.
Fully...
The other day, we were just fucking around. Class was about to start, MMA class, which I wasn't even staying for. I was about to dip. I had some gloves on. He had some gloves on. People were just sitting around watching. And he's just like, oh, come on, let's get it. No fucking timer or nothing. So I was like, sure. Well, we start scrapping, and we're going at a pretty high level. Because we talked earlier about that family camaraderie. One thing, once you start training with somebody really close, your barometer can go back and forth in a really healthy way. I have certain people that I can turn up with, Dustin being one of them. A lot of the guys, so there's, and same with him. Like, it's one of those things where if we catch each other with a good one, it's all out of respect. Like, it's all out of, whoof, you got me, damn, fuck, fucking kidneys hurt, you know? But we were sparring, and as we start sparring, we're just going back and forth, and it's getting more and more intense as we go. And as we're going, I keep like looking, I'm like, oh, there's no timer. And I'm starting to get fucking tired, and we just kept going. And I was, even during the fight, I'm like, dude, are we just going till the death? Like, are we just gonna fight till we die?
That can go.
Yeah, and anyway, so he ended up like bettering me because as good as our back and forth was, we had a good scrap. Like to the point where everybody there just sat down and watched. It was like, well, shit. And I literally just towards the end, I was like, bro, when it comes to a gas tank, bro, you got me. Like I'm done. And then I looked, I'm like, how long did we fight for? We had like a 9-minute round. We didn't stop fighting for like 9 minutes.
That's impressive.
It was like
I think that's an interesting thing about Dustin, and like obviously like we'll talk more about him when he's on the episode. But like I think he gets met with a lot of less than emotionally controlled people who get very upset with him because he's so controlled and so poised. Yeah. Like he's so calm, and also he can take so much shit physically and emotionally, like, and that's like something I have so much respect for him.
Yeah, going back to that, like fight camp, we did this thing every Tuesday. We run to class, which is 3 miles, and there's times where I just want to give up. I just want to walk, catch my breath. But he'll just egg me on and be like, no, you got to keep going. There's no time to rest. Champions don't rest. Come on. And it'll make me mad sometimes because I'm tired. I just want to rest.
I'm like, champions rest sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, coach knows better. Just push forward, just a couple minutes away. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and he really does, like, to an envious level. He really knows how to reach to a point of like, I even think within himself, and I can't speak for him, but like the way I see it, it's almost like he hits failure and then he goes past that. He's like, I've hit my limit. Like I've hit my body, my brain and body are saying stop, and he's just like, nah.
Yeah. Back in the day,
for
too,
real
bro.
though, dude.
Like even with drugs, Even with the drugs, bro. Like
even fight camp, like recent Georgie's first fight. I didn't fight, but I did primarily most of the camp with you guys. Like I almost did the whole.
You cornered me.
Yeah, and I cornered Georgie, and we were doing the fight camp, like high intensity level, like you said, training specific of like, here's what to expect. We know your opponent's height. We know that they have a boxing background, so we're going to train with that in mind of how we think they might strike. Just like there's so much like goes into the equation, but we would drive out to Crossroads, like soccer field, and we'd park there, and then we'd run to a mountain. Okay, we'd run all the way to a mountain, And then once we got to the mountain, which is really far away, we'd run there. We would run up the mountain and down the mountain, and then we would do it backwards. We'd run backwards and down backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
And I'll tell you right now, like, even though I was committed to fight camp and I wasn't fighting, I was one of the first to be like, well, we're done here. Like, I did it. I ran up the mountain enough times. But,
seems like, Felicia's calling me. I gotta go.
Yeah, no, bro, and that's the thing is, I wouldn't even fucking lie. Like, I'm like, good for you guys. Like,
I love y'all, but there ain't no fucking
keep it
way.
going. Yeah. But he was one that I will say, as a coach, I've never seen him do something or tell somebody he's coaching to do that he's not already doing himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy for a coach to be like, hey, run up and down, do this. And like
That motherfucker does like fireman workouts,
like
bro.
a dude,
Every 9/11, he puts on the amount of weight that they have, like, in gear, and then does the stairs, like, to climb the Twin Towers. Basically.
So it just boils back down to that, like we're family. So if you suffer, I'm gonna suffer with you.
Yeah.
Like I got you.
Exactly.
Like we're gonna suffer through this together, and then we're gonna starve together, and we're gonna eat together.
I've heard you talk a lot about your culture, and I would like to give you space to say anything that you may want to about that.
Yeah, so my parents are Mexican, both of them. Practically all my family, grandparents, aunts, everything. I just love that part of my heritage, and I like to like express myself in that way. I mean, you can obviously tell I'm not, but I was born in LA, and again, there's like so much Hispanic, Mexican stuff going on there, and just I love the culture. I study like a bunch of Aztec stuff, the language, what they wear, and the ranks, their jaguar stuff. I just love the culture, but I also am proud of the American side of me. I don't want to seem like I just want to be Mexican, but yeah, I'm proud of the American side of me too. Like, I wouldn't trade this country for anything, and I just think like my parents have gone through so much to get here, and I just want to represent their sacrifice and like represent their hard work,
Mm-hmm. And what they built with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's beautiful.
Like maybe they suffered a little bit more, so you didn't have to as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my best friends, I haven't got to talk to her in a while because we've both been really busy. But we met at Walmart, and we talk a lot about, we had very different upbringings because she's Mexican and her family is very, like, they're very into, like, the culture. And she would tell me about, like, how they keep each other accountable. They like, hold each other close, and they're, like, they're, like, family forever. It's not like, oh, you're grown up, you're not my kid anymore kind of shit. And I always told her, like, God, that's so beautiful, and that's something that, like, I don't know about, like, we as a whole, but, like, I think in a big way white people don't have, and I definitely didn't have. Like, my parents were very, like, okay, cool, good luck, and I think it's so beautiful the way that culture, like, cares for each other.
And I know some, like me, for example, I lived with my parents till I was like 22, and I know like Americans like to move out at 18.
Yeah.
But my mom just didn't want to let go of me, and being the mama's boy that I was,
And like, I think a lot of people, like especially a lot of Americans, would argue that that's going to make you soft, and I don't think that that's true. Like, I think that you're a very good example of the fact that like parental support can actually drive you into doing more and better for yourself.
Well, bro, if I wouldn't have been like ejected from my safe space at 18 years old, like it was like days after my birthday that I was like,
get the fuck out.
Literally, like they threw all their shit out on the lawn and shit
away.
Yeah.
They were like, "You have 20 minutes to pack."
wow,
basically.
Yeah.
And me and Max were like, all right, like, and then fucking, But if I feel like if I would have had that extra couple years of guidance, I wouldn't have twisted off so hard.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been out here doing all the fuck shit I was when I was 18.
Yeah.
I was a menace.
wow.
Those are some funny stories we'll have to share one time. I do want to give a huge shout out to George. Our relationship started through music and hip hop and like the emceeing / b-boying thing, which was cool, but I think we can both agree we were never closer than when we started training together. Yeah. Like truly,
exactly.
Like truly closer. And like if you were a fly on the wall with a lot of conversations, I actually use you as an example a lot when I talk about motivation and whatnot.
Inspiration.
Yeah, inspiration is because one, like you inspire the fuck out of me for a multitude of reasons, but anytime people talk to me about training, and that's whatever you're training when it comes to like combat sports, whether that be boxing, jiu-jitsu, all encompassing, they'll ask me, especially my size, they're like, dude, you're such a big dude, and like the things like how effective, like jiu-jitsu, like you do jiu-jitsu, how effective is it really? Or like your ability to strike, how effective is that really? And I'll always be like, all right, I'm a 6'5", what I'd consider pretty highly level trained martial artist, and a big dude. And when me and George spar, George, his fighting style and the way he adapts will fucking break me down. Like, and it's funny because from like an outside perspective, someone would be like, "Oh, Nick's going easy on it." And I'm like, "No, dude, I can't fucking touch the dude. He's literally too fast for me to hit." And guess what? When I use all that space to move to get to him, I've opened up all these spots that a guy like George is going to monopolize on. And like,
well,
one
the
of the
other
biggest
thing
things
is like with so much, like you're already giving away your movements. You
exactly
can't not.
Yeah, and then like, and a guy like George, like he's so fast but like technical that like one big thing I give him shit for all the time is he'll use his like kicks like an axe to my leg, and like that'll compromise my foot. So we'll start fighting, and I have to change like 2 minutes in. I'll have to change my stance because I'm like, "Fuck, dude, ow!" Like, stop, and like,
don't kick me again.
Yeah, but
It's
then
like the
like
old UFC games, like when boom, you can't use that shit anymore. Yeah,
I use you a lot as a testament that I'm like, man, if anybody thinks that it's truly when it comes to fighting, size and athleticism are gonna play. I'm gonna usually have an advantage like 90% of the time. I'm a big, strong guy, and now I have trained a fair amount to where I know enough. But on the other side of that, like George, literally probably like not even half my size. Like we are on opposite ends of the spectrum, and we'll have people who've never been there watch us fight, and they'll be like, "That was fucking cool to watch. Like that was fun to watch you two fight." And
that's an unfortunate thing with like fights is like you have to be in your own weight class. I think it would be so interesting to see people from different weight classes.
Back in the beginning of UFC, bro, those dudes would fight each other. Like there'd be a dude George's size fighting a dude my size. And then, like, George, if he won, he'd have to fight again. And again that same day. And he'd have to fight, like, 20
it was
dudes.
no joke. I think they did it because once people actually started getting more trained, realistically, you could be an extremely good fighter, but if you just had a dude who could pole box you, it just, like, started to get, like, not necessarily... I mean, just truly not...
But
like,
I just feel like, dude, like with people like you and George, like, that would be so interesting.
I think I would describe... our fighting styles when we fight each other, or how it looks like, it'd be like Kong against Godzilla.
Yeah, basically,
because we're literally two different species.
Yeah, literally, it
sizes.
really is. Yeah, it really is. And that's the thing is, I know, like, there's, with as big as I am, there might be a little, like, a level of, like, maybe my movements, like, whatever they are, but, like, I'm a fast fighter. Like, I'm a fast striker.
Yeah.
Like, just because I'm tall, like, I have really slender, like, slim build. When I strike, I'm not, like, my punches aren't, like, like, I'm fucking... So, like, I'm still fast, but I have all this space that I have to create in the distance. And, again, like, say I was going to try to headhunt George, I'm honest to goodness, like, sincerely, if I'm headhunting, more often than... I bet maybe I have, like, a 3% hit ratio on his head. Like, I just can't hit it. I can't punch the dude in the face because he's really fast.
He did give me with a good knee one time.
Okay, I felt fucking awful for that. That was.
I think you told us that
But even that, it was an accident.
Like, I'm so
it was a legit accident.
Yeah.
I didn't even throw a knee. I went to go throw a teep kick as George dipped to move, and I lifted my knee, and he ducked into it.
I'm halfway. Yeah.
Yeah, that fucking sucked. But Dave is another example. Dave is a black belt in jiu-jitsu who I probably have like 50 pounds on at least, and that dude fucking folds me like a goddamn suitcase. When he wants to and he switches on, I'm just like, there's days I'll roll with him. I'm like, I did pretty good. And then days I roll and I'm like, oh, he plays with me. He just toys with me. So that, I just want to give you a shout out, and to anybody who's watching this, who's interested, maybe the reason you haven't gotten to a combat sport, or even, and here's the thing, if you train, you don't have to train to fight. Like, you can train for, there's a multitude of reasons to train. But if something is stopping you from training because you think it's like a size or a physicality thing, I'll tell you right now that, like, precision and technique is always going to, like, take precedent.
Even in tripping, like, it's not about how you look or how you move. It's about how you talk to motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's how you finesse it. Yeah. One question I have now, but this is for Jesse. I have a question for Cookie. So... me and George talk about, like, fighting and, like, what it comes with, and, like, admittedly, once you start training more, like, a level of confidence, you're like, oh, cool, like, I'm starting to understand the functionality of my body and what I'm capable of, and that involves, one, just knowing how to fight, but also, like, situational awareness. Like, if I were to get in an altercation, where to put myself to be safe, what to watch for, like, where to, like, look at somebody's body to make sure, like, if they're going to make a move, what's the safest place that I can gauge and, like, respond in enough time. Having all that, like, data and training behind it. Jesse, for years, was a bouncer. and who scrapped a lot with no training. So my curiosity is like, so for a guy who's just actually for real street fought a lot, like what angle do you take it when you used to fight? Was it just kind of like you'd black out and just hit people, like you just fight? Or
really, it's hyper awareness, honestly. Waiting for them to throw a fucking goofy punch and just moving out of the way.
Let them tucker themselves
Let
out.
them tucker themselves out. Let them scream at me for a while, you know, and then if they ever got really after it, I would wait for them to, you know, throw a goofy punch and then just like, come on, guys.
I was going to say, didn't you wrap somebody up with like
more,
their arm and then your arm behind their head once? Like, you swap
so
them
more
out?
of your, so you're not fighting, you're ending a fight.
Yeah,
it's all
I'm
diffusing.
avoiding, diffusing, even going as far as to letting people throw punches at me so I can just back away and like let them get tired so I can take them out easier.
Yeah, more often than not, you probably have some pretty drunk guys that are.
Oh yeah, you know,
you're gonna more than likely fall down just
when
moving
I got
towards
jumped and I pulled, I came up to the incident and I got hit in the face immediately and didn't know it. Like somebody just hit me like out of the gate. I stepped up and I was like, "What's going on?" And bam, hit me in the face, and I didn't even fucking know. Yeah. And I was like, I was watching the video and I was like, "Wait, did that dude just fucking punch me in the face?" And I was like, "I didn't even fucking know that, dude. Like, what the hell?" You know, it was crazy. But yeah, most of the things that I wait for is opportunity to end it without anybody getting
so just
hurt,
verbally being like, "Hey man, we don't want to ruin the night."
Well, that and I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to get hurt, so I'm gonna do what I can to make that the reality. If they throw a punch and are falling into the pool table, I'm gonna push them away from the pool table. It's mostly just letting people tucker themselves out, man. You know?
Using those kind of things is really silly. I remember one time like, there was these guys on either side of me fighting, and they were getting ready to like go at it, and like I was stuck in the corner, like I wasn't moving, and somebody was like, "Dude, show them your tits," and I did, and they were like, "Yeah, titties, yeah, fuck yeah," and then they were buddies. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like fucking bonkers, dude.
Now we're breaking back down to the primal level of man.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. I want to fight and fuck.
Fight and fuck.
That's it.
Let's do the box real quick.
Yeah, we'll close out the episode. Do the box. George just got to pull us.
Don't do the box. I mean, like
the box does you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, this is Jesse's.
Yeah. What album? If you were stuck in a car for 14 hours and only could pick one album, what would it be?
Ooh, that's tough.
Barbra Streisand's greatest hits.
Man.
Obviously.
Album.
And you have to listen to it for 14 hours straight. Stuck in a
Well, you're
car.
thinking I'm gonna answer first
Yeah,
just
go
because
ahead,
I think
answer
that
it.
my answer is gonna be not what anybody'd expect. I wouldn't pick music. I'd probably pick like a stand-up.
podcast?
I'd pick either a podcast or like a stand-up comic, like a
They
comic.
have albums?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay,
like,
I'm gonna get pedantic with it. Okay, we said album.
yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
I used to have a bunch of Jeff Foxworthy tapes.
Wow, you're old.
And like Felicia and I.
No, me, it's tater salad.
Yeah, Felicia and I. From some of my favorite memories is like back before like it was super common just to have everything instantly accessible on your phone through Spotify or whatever your streaming platform is, and to have a fucking CD. And we had a bunch of Dane Cook stand-up albums.
I love Dane Cook.
I do too.
Everybody
He
hates him.
I love him. He's fucking hilarious. He's one of the
He's
funniest
so
dudes
funny.
ever.
Yeah.
I love him. But it was enough that we could listen to it and we'd just be cracking up, like just cackling in the car listening to him, and we could literally start it over from the beginning and laugh again. Like it's
awesome.
yeah. So
I love that.
like to this day, I could go listen.
I love
to
like those videos, those reels. You like a 30-second clip and you watch it for fucking 10
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
straight,
10
just
times,
fucking
yeah.
cackling,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh man.
I got stuck on something on TikTok.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I wouldn't mind listening to it 14 hours. I'd say Eminem's latest album.
Dude, it's
Oh,
a
wow.
great
Okay.
fucking
It's
record,
so
dude.
good. From
So
start
good.
to finish.
I
so
wouldn't be
good.
able to listen to it for 14 hours straight. That's just me.
Favorite song on the album?
Okay, so bro, it's hard for me. It's hard
Fuel,
for me.
yes,
so
that's mine right
that's
there.
such a great one. It's hard for me because one, I really love Guilty Conscience Part 2 because the concept of it is I'm such an Eminem fanboy. If I really ever broke it down, you'd probably be like, chill, bro. Like, stop.
No, I'm with
Jesus
you. I'm
Christ.
with you.
Yeah, chill. I'm such an Eminem fanboy because even I've been so introspective on his music for so long that I'm that guy that people are like, oh, Eminem this and that. I'm like, do you understand that he's hyped? Like all the things you're criticizing for, he's aware of, and he talked about it in this song about this thing. He knows what you're saying, and he's aware of how hard it is to be in the bubble that he's inside of, and he can't please everyone. I'll be that guy. But that being said, I like Guilty Conscience because it was such a good, dope take on him doing what, again, his confliction now is Eminem is you have half people that are like, give us the old nasty ass Slim Shady, and then he does that, and then the other side is like, you fucking grown man, you're like, grow the fuck up. Then he grows up and does some conscious shit, and they're like, this is fucking where's Slim Shady? So it's like, so on I love that on
Dude,
Guilty
on
Conscience
that
part
note,
two.
like everybody hates recovery. Like fuck y'all, fuck y'all.
I love recovery.
Recovery was the shit.
I love recovery. His most hated album is probably Revival. I'd say Revival is his most hated,
I'd say
which I
Relapse.
like. Really. But that being said, I like Guilty Conscience because it's so well done of like, him literally calling himself out. Mentally, you're still 13 and so immature, you're still picking on Christopher Reeves, but you're me, so we're his teams. No, that means you're in cahoots, like whatever. Yeah. And he literally is just like, he's doing the shit that people would expect. Like he'll say something and you'll be like, ugh, I don't know. And then he'll respond by being like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And you're like, he gets it. Yeah. So I love it for that concept. But outside of that, a song that to this day is on repeat that his rhyme schemes boggle my mind is Antichrist.
Yes.
Is that off the new one?
Yeah, his track Antichrist, because it's the one where his rhyme schemes are just so like he rap like for being a fan of rap for as long as I have.
It's glitched out there for me. Like,
I was trying to think of the fucking Eminem lyrics, but for being a fan of rap for as long as I have, you think you hear every kind of flow, every kind of cadence, every kind of way to do it. And again, I heard Antichrist. I'm like, how'd you do that? Yeah. Just the way he rhymes, like, who else is SP to the slashes, witty, crashes, and like, just the way he goes back and forth. Mm-hmm. Next idiot asked me, getting his ass beat worse than Diddy did. But on the real though, he probably ran out of room with his fucking dildo. Yeah, and like, but the Antichrist is so fucking fire that I break it down and I'm like, how did you fucking own those cuts? So yeah, that's probably my favorite record.
I like how, like, no matter how many times you listen to a song of Eminem, there's always something new you'll catch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Yeah, like bro, I just caught one the other day. I didn't realize
he goes hard.
He on a line on his new album, he's talking about like beef, and so he's like, so if you want beef with me, you're better off having with smoke with Lamar, bro. So like Kendrick Lamar, you'd rather have smoke
Lamar,
with but Marlboro cigarettes.
Marlboro,
So you want beef with me, you're better off having smoke with like, Lamar, bro. And in that simple line that I'm like, bro, the record's been out for how long and I just caught it. Yeah.
Or in Fuel too, when he says putting words in my mouth like alphabet
soup. Yeah.
But the whole time he's rhyming in that scheme, the ABC.
Yeah.
Like when he's saying,
oh shit.
Yeah, the A, and then he goes to B, and then he goes to the crazy like.
Well, and even the part, the part I got so many. I'm like an RAPER. I've got so many SAs. Wait, he didn't just spell the word rapper and leave out a P, did he?
Yeah.
And like you're just like, bro, you're so fucking. You're
that clip
smart.
was on my Facebook like 5,000 times in a row. I swear to God.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a little weird segue, but I co-sign that 100%.
I will say my 14-hour album, and Jesse could tell you, like, this is so true, is Grieve's Winter in the Wolves. Literally finish that album and just skip it back. Like, I fucking love it so much.
Here's a real quick question. Do I have to listen to the album for 14 hours? It's the only thing I have accessible.
You have to.
It has to be on loop?
You have to.
It's
stuck in your old school fucking, like, How I Met Your Mother stuck in the fucking...
Then I would have to pick an album I already don't like, because that would make me not like an album.
Oh,
if I had to listen to it for 14 hours.
I think if I listened to Winter in the Wolves for a month straight, I'd still fucking love it.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel so seen.
Yeah, if I had to listen to something for 14 hours, I think I'd hate it. So you might as well throw on some like fucking...
That's a good point,
some
though.
Tekashi 6ix9ine, and I'll just hate it.
Yeah, right. You'd be singing along by the end.
Yeah, by the end of it, I come out like the biggest Tekashi fan.
What'd you guys think of Chromacopia?
I thought it was dope, bro. You didn't like it?
Didn't like it.
Really? I thought Tyler was spazzing on that, bro.
Oh, everybody's on about it, but I haven't had time. I'm fucking exhausted.
I think Tyler really did his thing on it. What's your 14 hour?
Again, I don't know. 14 hours in a car, Forgotten Freshness Volume 2.
Okay, if you call yourself the Saiyan, when did you discover DBZ and what made you love it?
Like when they were doing reruns for like the old stuff before Kai. I just love like the way they put martial arts into a story, and how it was like someone was supposed to be like the weakest of their race, you know, and now is like the strongest being in the universe. Well, not really in the universe,
because he keeps seeking out more evolution.
He doesn't even try to like prove that he's the strongest to like
He's like, I just want to fight you. I just want to see.
Yeah. See how strong
Yeah, he's just like, I'm here to scrap, dog.
Yeah, that's what I like about him.
Yeah.
I know everybody like talks shit about Goku like as a person,
let's
but I'm
eat.
like, dude,
I
he's cute though.
I immediately fell in love with Vegeta due to the fact that he's like the smallest.
Yeah,
That's
motherfuckers
my
hate
guy,
Vegeta,
yeah.
but that's the motherfucker, dude.
He had the most like character development. The way he like came from like such a dark mentality to like starting a family and feeling bad for not taking his kid to the amusement park, and he's
Oh, he's still just grumpy.
yeah. He just wants to keep that like yeah.
What's your favorite Vegeta line?
Ooh, it's probably his Majin speech when he said like, "You may have invaded my mind and my body." There's one thing a Saiyan always pride.
Dope.
Hell
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
bro.
Dope.
Damn, you had that loaded and locked, and that was fucking...
Yeah.
Dude, when
That
you
saga
love
was crazy.
Vegeta, you got a
Yes,
fucking
yeah.
line, bro.
Every
Like
line,
mine's
every
tatted
line.
on me. It's from the Dragon Ball Super series, and he's like, it was just such a beautiful moment because, like you said, like he was such a little fucking asshole, and then he grew into like this mentor, dude. Like, and this kid is like just learning how to like be a Saiyan, and like, and he's like, how do you go Super Saiyan? And he says. He like beats the living shit out of him, and he says, "Remember this pain and let it activate you." Like, and it just like gave me fucking chills, bro.
Another reason why I love Vegeta is like
I'm gonna do that to my kids when I get
another
home.
reason I love
Take out the
Vegeta
breath.
is like he started off trying to be like the best in the universe, right? Trying to be the strongest he can to be like the best. But now he wants to be the strongest to protect his family, and that's holy.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't show it, but
I'm gonna use that mentality when Hannah comes home and she goes, Dad, I want to learn how to draw better. I'm gonna now remember that. Draw good. What's your favorite Vegeta line?
I don't know.
Yeah, Jesse don't know.
what's your favorite anime?
Mine's probably Suggin' Ain't
My
Fucking.
favorite anime, that's a tough one because, like, I mean, I liked Super a lot and I liked Dragon Ball Z a lot, but I think I
He
fuck with
gets
One
bored
Piece
when he
really
watches
hard.
DBZ.
Yeah,
Mine's gonna be
Yeah.
blasphemy.
barely is it Devilman Crybaby?
No, just keep going.
I'm just kidding. Chainsaw Man.
No, just keep going, dog.
I barely started the series, but from what I've seen so far, it's like just it's got everything. It's got the action, it's got the feel good, it's got the friendship vibes.
This is One
it's
Piece?
got- yeah.
Yeah, I got told. I didn't
And
know
it's
that.
so long. If I play my cards right, I can watch it for the rest of my life.
He can, dude. He don't keep up on TV series for the life. I stopped trying to watch series with him because I'm like, bro, I'm trying to
She's
watch
30
this.
episodes ahead of me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm fine on episode 6. I'll get to 7. Like,
What are you choosing?
Dude, I honestly have such a small like knowledge base of it, but it's the original Pokemon, the original like anime first like. Started going. That's my. But outside of that, like I've for being a huge nerd and into that realm, like people will hear that I'm super into Pokemon and like all the nerdy stuff. I'm like, dude, what's your favorite anime? And I'm like, ooh.
I also like My Hero a lot.
Yeah, because I've heard all these like Naruto, My Hero, One Piece, all these things. Like I've heard of them, but I don't even know what they are. I don't know what they're about. I don't know the
I'm
context.
a little anime baby.
Yeah,
No,
so I have no idea.
I can't say shit. I don't watch that
Oh,
much
that's how I
anime
am
either.
too. Like, there's only like 3 really shows I've ever watched.
For me
no.
right now-
Oh, I lied. It's Afro Samurai.
Fuck yeah! No, I have watched Afro
I
Samurai.
forgot
is
about
the
Afro
best.
Samurai,
I have watched that.
dude.
I
That
have
shit
watched
was
Afro
great.
Samurai.
I forgot, dude.
That
Until
shit-
just
that
now,
shit
it was like
was
flashed
fire.
in my head. I was like, oh yeah.
That's a good one.
I'd say for me right now, like obviously, dude, like the whole Dragon Ball series holds a special place in my heart. But like, I don't even like really look at that as an anime. It's just like a story that I
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
dear. And one day I'm gonna have to tell the story of how I actually ended up watching that. But right now, I can't remember if it's Urumaki or Uzumaki. It's on Max, and just the creep factor of it, dude. Like,
Oh, that new one you've been
oh, it's so good, dude. The artist is
Where the spirals take
fantastic,
over the
dude.
world
Yeah,
or whatever?
spirals take over this town, and like literally, like this girl, like this guy's like, "You are a spiral," and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And like she has this scar in the middle of her head, and it just starts to turn into this spiral to where like, she pulls her hat off, and she's like, "Something's wrong with my eye," and her eye's just sitting on a spiral, and it just like sucks
You know,
into her
you know what I'm
head.
gonna say? This
Bro.
is where I'm gonna give anime shout outs. Is in general, especially like Western TV movie content, it's so much similar. It's like, oh, what's this show about? Oh, it's about a group of teens who are in high school and they're struggling with XYZ. Oh, what's this show about? Oh, it's about a family who's going through XYZ. What's this show about? Oh, it's superheroes are trying to say the XYZ. But then you'll get anime, like, what's this about? And they'll be like, okay, it's about how there's a dog alien who came from Mars and he actually has the ability to, like, and you're like, what? And you're like, dude, it's great. 19 seasons. And you're like, how? Like, you made that into 19 seasons? Like, because when you started being like, yeah, everybody spirals, I'm like, what the fuck you mean everybody spirals?
The Last
so
Airbender,
good.
too.
Especially as a person who went through a psychosis for like 3 years that I was obsessed with spirals. It's fucking chef's kiss. I just want to note real quick a couple things. One, I was supposed to have you in a video back in the day, and I just never got around to making it. And I apologize. It wasn't like that I didn't want to have you on it. I just... Life is stupid. I think that was actually in the middle of my psychosis, so that's fun. But also, I just wanted to say, I super appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Like, we'll say, like, I hadn't been able to, I haven't really talked to you in a really long time, so I don't know George now. You know what I mean? I only know George back then, and so I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. And you heard a little bit of it before the podcast started, but I had the fucking worst day. Like, it was such a shitty day, and I was honestly like, I'm just going to end up being like old Jesse on the podcast, just staring into the corner. But sadly, though, you know, like, and you like inspired me to like get back into it. And like, you made my day better. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. This is really like the first like type podcast I've ever been to. Kind of cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Hell
Yeah, I feel like I say this on every episode, but like this is my favorite episode so far. Like it's been such a good episode.
It is fun.
And then just in closing, is there anything that you want to get out that you haven't got to talk about? Or any like advice you want to give to people or
Well, since these podcasts have really talked about like mental issues and stuff and like anxiety and all that stuff, depression, I just want to say like there's no expiration date to mourning. I know I left that comment on your post. I don't know if you've seen it, but I told you like listen to what people are saying. There's no expiration date on mourning. You can take as much time as you want. Like there's elderly people that are still facing their childhood trauma, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody copes. Everybody just does different things, and don't be ashamed of like how you feel and how long it's gonna take you to get through it. Like some people don't even get through it at all, you know. You just gotta find the right people to talk to. Like for me, it's Wild Faction. Like I go in there, and I just feel much better. You know?
I will say, man, as close as we got, like one of the biggest things out of above everything, our connection through all the different things and really bonding through fighting. Like I loved it. If you would have came here back before like, we trained together, it would have been. Like, I almost feel like it would have, on my end, been just kind of. I don't ever want to say like phoned in, but just kind of like what you'd expect. Like, oh, we used to know each other in music and this and that, but like the fact that we've got to train together is like, oh, bro, I know George on like a level that I'd never thought we'd get to bond and connect through, and especially like the first fight camp and like doing all that together and being your corner and all the different things. And I will say, even sitting here listening to you talk now, like I'm so proud because you're not only what you've accomplished, and like George hasn't mentioned it, but he lost his mother, and I don't like. I hope you have my blessing to say, and soldiered through that and. Sit here and listen to you talk. I'm like, fuck, bro. I'm so proud of this dude because not only like what I've seen you do in the hip hop community, in our community, what I've seen you accomplish as a fighter, but sitting here listening to you talk, you're fucking smart, bro. You're smart and you're well rounded and you're compassionate and you're just aware, and that is so important.
Fantastic
and, like,
human.
Yeah, like, so you're just an all around good dude. So I want to just give you your respect, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Treasy.
And I appreciate what you said too. Like, I may have missed the comment or I may have ADHD'd it. I'm not sure.
It's
like,
okay, I get it, yeah.
But I do really appreciate that. Like, that means a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to hear about your mom too.
It's okay.
It's hard.
She was.
It ain't an
She was
episode
everything.
until Callie cries.
We made it official. Yeah.
Yeah, she was everything to me. Me and my dad had kind of rough relationship growing up. She was really there, you know. I don't want to say anything bad about my dad. I love him to death, but my mom really was there for all my ups and downs, all my heartbreaks, all my questions, my just everything, and I wasn't.
It's okay.
No,
We can cry together.
Being like the oldest in the family, like, I don't have anybody to open up to, you know.
Yeah.
And, I just keep it in, and I just go with the flow. So I don't want to cry.
I feel that, but like, do people be like, "Oh, you just fucking post all your shit online"? I'm like, dude, like, well, who the fuck am I supposed to talk to about it?
Yeah.
You know,
Treasy,
I'm the oldest too.
Yeah, he was a big help when it happened. And Dave too. Shout out to everybody who helped me. Dustin, Dave. I passed away in Cali. I was here, and she tried to call me the day before it happened. I was at work. I seen it, but I was like, oh, I'll just call her tomorrow. I'm busy.
That happened with my dad.
I woke up and it just made like a train, you know. To this day, I feel guilty. I couldn't answer her last call, and yeah, Treasy was a big help. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually another mantra that I have is there's no later, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, not to like, you know, I know how, like, that was one of the reasons why I have that mantra too, is because like my dad called me and like that was back when weekend minutes were a thing, and I was like, I'll just call him next weekend. And the next thing I know, I was getting that call. So like, that fucking sucks, dude. I feel you.
And like you said, like there's no expiration date on trauma and hurt. And also, when it comes to mortality and death in general, I don't think there's ever going to be a scenario where it's like you can attain a certain level of peace, which is like, of course, what we want. But there's no like, if you were to write down, if somebody said, hey, like you're going to lose somebody you care about, I want you to write down exactly how you want it to go, you couldn't do it because there's no
right way or good way to lose
so
somebody.
Like, so even like for having the guilt of, oh, I didn't answer my phone, or having the guilt, the trauma you have, I have a bunch of like checklists of fuck, I wish I'd have done this with my fucking dad. And
they say life can only be lived forwards but only understood backwards.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where you have to really check in with like the certainty, especially like in your regard, how close you were able to have that relationship, and like and that's like a beautiful thing. And I just want to say, like, because we get deep in here, and so we don't have to go down it, but some pretty relatable experiences, and like it just, if we want to look at the beauty of it, it sounds silly, but we're just a bunch of fucking human beings sitting in a room with a camera, listening, like, and we're recording this experience, and like that's the stuff that gives me hope. That's what gives me hope, because you brought it up earlier. You literally said you had a really shit day, and I am the fucking biggest testament to this too when it comes to the pod. I am like, I've been going through it lately and having a hard time, and if I'm usually not here or talking to my friends, I'm completely checked out, and so checked out that I'm ready to, like, I think I need a break from everything. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying I'm giving up or tapping out, but I just need to step away from anything. But then every night I show up, we fucking laugh and goof off, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And like, same as you, how you're like, oh, I thought I was gonna be just sitting there spaced off, but here we are. Like, that's, to me, that's the stuff that gives me hope, that I'm like, fuck, man, like we're pack animals, we're social animals, and like these are my fucking people. So like, I fucking.
That's another reason why I really appreciate the pod, because I really have a hard time like connecting with people in general, and I think it's because everybody's on this like very surface level shit, and like with everything, like I don't want to be like, oh, I've gone through everything more than anybody else, but like with everything I've been through, I can't on that surface level. I don't know how to do that anymore. Like that's all I have is depth, you know, like it's
like, and if you don't want to get deep with me, like it's hard to connect. Like it's
I
the
just don't know
surface
how.
level conversations,
and then
are just
people think
harder.
It's weird, you know, like,
and even places like talking about growth and just how people are like, where I'll give Georgie a shout out, is when that happened, one of the first things I did, and I meant it sincerely because I care about you deeply, was like, yo dog, if you need anything, like I'm here for you. At that time my father hadn't even been, like, I don't even think a year since my dad had passed, so I was like, hey man, like I probably have some similar thoughts and feelings you might have right now. And Georgie, sure enough, instead of being like, oh thanks, he actually was, we ended up going out and getting like some food and like actually talking about it. Like we actually hung out and like talked about it, and like the thoughts and feelings, and opposed to just like a lot of times when there's loss or anything in life, those surface level things, you're like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. Gotcha. And
I have a tendency to do that because I don't believe that they really mean it or know what they're like. They mean well, but they don't really know what they're saying.
And I'm one of those people. Sometimes to the negative for me is, I'm the guy. If I tell you, hey, if you need something, I got you. I mean that. I am that guy.
To his own detriment.
Yeah, exactly. So I am that guy. So sometimes then I'm like, I'm really exhausting myself emotionally. But I don't see a scenario where I, like, anybody in this room especially, like, where I wouldn't be able to, like, sacrifice a little bit of my peace to offer you some, you know. So.
Shout out Treasy.
Shout out to all you guys. This has been a good episode.
Also, I want to say I'm so proud of you. You did such a good job doing some talking and like fucking and being part of it. Like, I think a lot of Jesse's thing is he gets nervous, like, but like, a deep motherfucker, and he's pretty and funny, and
Bro, you're literally a genius. What did you say the other day that we said something and he responded right away? And I'm like, how?
Yeah,
I'm like, how?
His
Did you
brain
already
works
come
in
up
like
with that?
0.5
Like,
seconds.
it was
I'm
like, and I think a lot of times too. This is anybody watching knows this, and anybody who knows me well, something I have to work on, and I still suck at it. But I have a really hard time shutting up and also not interjecting.
That's why we have the buttons.
Yeah,
So
the
like,
buttons
if you
exist
have
because
something to say, it was meant to be like you got 20 seconds to wrap it up. But
Nick,
I think it's
shut
better
up.
now just to be like, hey, I just want to make sure everybody knows I have something to say.
So I think sometimes like because you and I once we start riffing. Like, it was really hard for Jesse to, like, elbow his way in, because me and you, like, anyway.
That's a new rule. The guest
you
and
guys-
Jesse have to be in the middle.
Yeah, we're in the middle. You guys are on the ends, because, you know, you gotta talk through us now.
Yeah. We tend to click up. Whoops.
Yeah. Like, you can't sit with this.
Yeah, so to wrap up, where I'm going to just shut up for the rest of the night, is I just want to say, Georgie, thank you for being here. And on a personal level, on my end, bro, like, I love you like family, dog. Like, you are like my boy, bro. So like forever.
I'm glad to have been able to like get to know you, like reacquaint ourselves with each other, you know, like because as dope of a person as you were then, like grown so much too. You're such a fantastic human. Proud of you, man.
I'm gonna implement the Fantastic Human Award. I'm just gonna get a can and a stick.
Fantastic.
Just knight me.
Awards.
Wait, no, it's a Fanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. You're stupid.
Fantastic Human Award.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, I love that.
You know, fuck, I got one more thing to say. You absolutely can, will, and have the capability to be a champion at some division, whether that be statewide, nationwide, or UFC-wide at some point. Because if you guys have not seen
Especially
George
with the
fight,
drive that you have.
anytime I've watched you fight, you have 2 amateur fights that you've won, and not only won, fucking dominated. And a recent jiu-jitsu match where you also, again, completely dominated this person. So I rarely get to see George fight. I get to see George control fights, and that's where I truly think there's a champion in there, because I definitely, you're a smart fighter, and that's important. So.
Thank you, Treason. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Currently top 40 in the U.S.
Heck yeah. Wow, that's amazing, dude. How many fighters must there be? Like, that's
There's like
fantastic.
2,000 flyweights.
Wow, that's fantastic. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Big
All
dog.
right.
And it's all thanks to you guys, Wild Faction Dustin. It's all thanks to you guys. Thank
Yeah.
you again for having me on this podcast. It's been such a great experience. And
Yeah, of
I have
course.
love for every single one of you, whether we haven't talked in like years or we just got out of training.
Yeah, or if we punch each other in
Yeah,
the face on the
yeah.
regular.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we go?
Oh, actually, yes. I'm working on this like mini series kind of. I've always wanted to like direct, write, or act or whatever.
Hell yeah.
And I've got some friends. I did drop a little trailer. There's nothing big, nothing like high budget or whatever. Just something for fun. I just want to like dip my toes in that kind of water, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it turns out great. Yeah.
I'm a big purveyor of like fucking play, dude. Like try everything, especially because if you get those skills as a director or as a filmmaker or whatever, you could like work on even all of your shit convenes together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so, yeah. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see that. Well, thank you guys for watching. As always, thanks for giving us a space to voice our thoughts. Fantastic. Keep it classy. Thanks for watching episode 7, and we will see you next time. It'll be Dustin Tucker and Michelle Tucker. And it's going to be a great fucking episode.
Thanks again for joining us for our 7th episode of Classy Broadcast. Check the information section on this video for links to all of our social media outlets, information on joining Wild Faction Gym, links to George's fight and b-boy videos, and information on his upcoming film project. Don't forget to leave any questions that you have in the comments so we can do a question and answer video in the future. And if you would like to hear us talk about something specific, don't be afraid to make a suggestion. Join us in future episodes for more engaging topics and intriguing guests. If you would like to be a guest on Classy Broadcast, leave a comment and we'll contact you about future episodes. Join us next episode for special guests Dustin and Michelle Tucker. Expect a very diverse episode with lots of engaging topics. Thanks for joining in. See you next time.